For centuries, the world has been gripped by unseen hands, puppet masters who move silently behind the curtains of global events. Whispers in the corridors of conspiracy speak of wars ignited not for ideology, but for profit, of leaders raised to power and struck down not by chance, but by design, and of diseases unleashed not by nature, but by intention. At the center of such chilling rumors lies the myth of a clandestine and near-mythical organization, the Death Dealers, an elite cabal believed to wield the ultimate power over humanity. According to this theory, they do not merely influence the course of history, they decide who lives and who dies. The legend of the Death Dealers is not tied to a specific century or region. Rather, it seems to crop up wherever power has been abused or death has arrived with suspicious timing. Some say their roots stretch back to ancient Mesopotamia, where priest-kings conducted blood rituals to divine who was to be sacrificed for the harvest to thrive. Others trace their origin to the Roman Senate, where covert political murders decided the fate of empires. The name Death Dealers, however, appears to have emerged in the 19th century, associated with European aristocratic circles, secret lodges, and whispers of shadowy decision-making groups operating above sovereign governments. What sets the Death Dealers apart from other legendary secret societies, like the Illuminati, Freemasons, or Bilderberg Group, is their purported sole focus on mortality. Unlike groups alleged to control finance, religion, or politics, the Death Dealers are said to specialize in the logistics of death itself. Their mission? Not to gain wealth or influence per se, but to act as curators of global equilibrium through population control, selective extermination, and violent course corrections to human history. Conspiracy theorists speculate that the Death Dealers operate as a pyramidal hierarchy. At the base are informants, spies, and handlers who infiltrate institutions, militaries, intelligence agencies, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, even international NGOs. Higher up are the tacticians, experts in geopolitics, bioengineering, media manipulation, and psychological warfare, who create the frameworks for death operations. At the very top, shrouded in complete anonymity, are the so-called judges, a council of a dozen or so members said to be beyond nations, ideologies, and perhaps even morality itself. These individuals allegedly weigh the value of human lives and issue death sentences for reasons known only to them. Initiation into society is supposedly brutal and transformative. New recruits are required to pass what insiders call the silence trial, a series of psychological and moral tests in which they must betray someone close to them, destroy a life without leaving a trace, and demonstrate absolute loyalty to the death-centric ideology. If they succeed, they become hands of the clock, agents who implement decisions passed down from above. From the mysterious deaths of political leaders to the unexplained suicides of influential figures, the Death Dealers are often implicated. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy, according to some theorists, was not the work of a lone gunman, but a high-level decision to halt his push for transparency regarding military and intelligence operations. Similarly, the suspicious car crash that killed Princess Diana in 1997 has long been cited as the result of a death order, allegedly issued due to her threat to royal protocols and international diplomacy. It is theorized that the Death Dealers engineer wars not just to profit from chaos, but to prune populations, stimulate economic cycles, and reset political power balances. From Vietnam to Iraq, from the Balkans to Syria, many conflicts are claimed to have been sparked or prolonged by covert interventions that benefit from mass death. One of the most chilling accusations against the Death Dealers is their alleged involvement in the creation and release of deadly pathogens. HIV/AIDS, Ebola, SARS, and even COVID-19 have all been tied by some conspiracy theorists to biolabs and secret agendas. They believe the Death Dealers use pandemics to accomplish large-scale mortality events that governments can publicly attribute to natural causes. Vaccine hesitancy, fear campaigns, and pharmaceutical monopolies are seen as tools used to amplify the psychological and societal impact of these orchestrated crises. There are also allegations that the group uses sterilization campaigns, experimental drugs, and humanitarian aid as covert weapons of population suppression in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Historical incidents like the forced sterilizations in India in the 1970s or the controversial birth control testing in Central America are cited as examples of such tactics. Countless mysterious deaths of whistleblowers, investigative journalists, inventors, and scientists are attributed to the death dealers. These individuals are believed to have come too close to uncovering truths or technologies that could disrupt the balance of power. Their deaths, often ruled as suicides or accidents, are claimed to be calculated executions to silence dissent. Though no confirmed documentation of the death dealers has ever surfaced, theorists insist on recurring symbols: a black hourglass, signifying the end of time, a veiled skull, an Ouroboros serpent biting its own tail. Members are said to wear no uniforms or regalia, but mark themselves subtly, perhaps through a particular ring, scar, or coded gesture. Rituals reportedly include life audits, during which dossiers on influential individuals are reviewed for threats to the Order's mission. These audits result in 3 outcomes: preserve, observe, or terminate. In highly dramatized accounts, termination rituals are conducted in abandoned cathedrals or remote mountains, attended only by hooded figures, their faces never revealed. The true power of the death dealers, if they exist, may lie less in their actions and more in their mythos. The idea that someone, somewhere, has the authority and ability to decide life and death creates a pervasive atmosphere of fear, helplessness, and obedience. Some claim this fear is the point. By believing that resistance is futile and that any whistleblower can be snuffed out in an instant, people become less likely to challenge authority or question global events. Fear also enables mass compliance. During pandemics, people willingly submit to extreme surveillance, lockdowns, and medical mandates, not necessarily because they trust their governments, but because they dread the invisible enemy that may or may not be natural. The psychological warfare aspect of the death dealer's strategy, according to these theories, is as important as physical death. Of course, the notion of a group like the death dealers operating globally and undetected strains credibility for many. Skeptics argue that such a centralized, omnipotent group would require nearly supernatural efficiency, secrecy, and power, factors that have proven impossible for even the most competent intelligence agencies. They also point out that many of the events attributed to the group have plausible natural explanations, rooted in history, economics, politics, and human error. Additionally, critics claim that such theories are often fueled by fear of the unknown and a human tendency to find patterns in chaos. In times of crisis, people seek meaning and accountability, and the death dealers offer a convenient, if terrifying, answer. Yet, what continues to keep the legend alive is not the hard evidence, of which there is none, but the growing feeling among many that something is being hidden. The disparity in global suffering, the consistent silencing of dissenting voices, and the eerie timing of certain global shifts all point, in the eyes of believers, to a higher coordinating force. The myth of the death dealers has crept into literature, cinema, and video games. Films like The Adjustment Bureau, Eyes Wide Shut, and The Parallax View echo themes of elite control over fate and life. Television series like Utopia, Black Mirror, and Person of Interest dramatize organizations that use data, algorithms, and human assets to predict and eliminate threats before they emerge. In the gaming world, secret death-dealing orders are often depicted as endgame villains, cold, calculating, and morally detached from human suffering. These portrayals reflect society's growing suspicion of technology, AI, and opaque institutions that seem to wield disproportionate power. Whether the death dealers exist as a real organization, an elaborate metaphor, or a chilling myth, their story speaks volumes about the world we live in. At its core, the legend reflects humanity's anxieties about power, mortality, and justice. It forces us to ask, who really makes the decisions that shape the world? Is death random or orchestrated? And if such a society does exist, how would we ever know? In an age where truth is elusive, institutions are distrusted, and reality feels increasingly engineered, the tale of the death dealers refuses to fade. They linger in the background of every plane crash, every unexplained suicide, every sudden war, and every sweeping illness. They are the ghosts in the system, the shadows on the wall, the quiet answer to a question few dare ask. What if someone really does decide who lives and who dies?